a little bit.
Yeah, which we're hoping to do. I want to still bring in with us now for a broader discussion here, radio personality Matt McGill. Joining us from Chicago, Earnest Byner, who's an NFL player and coach, and back with us, Sarah Verardo, whose husband was severely injured in Afghanistan. He's had more than 100 surgeries, and Sarah and her husband have also been active in speaking with the president about veterans issues. Good to have all of you back with us. Ernest, I'm just curious about your take here. As a former player, as a coach, what do you make of all of this?
Well, the thing that I really liked over the weekend is the fact that guys, guys, owners, coaches, everybody kind of basically stood together. It galvanized the NFL in a way that I think that hasn't been ever. I don't know if it's ever happened. And the other thing that I want to maybe just focus on just a little bit is the fact that I didn't agree with guys kneeling prior to this weekend. This weekend, I agree with everything that happened this weekend. You know, with with everybody coming together. But before that to me, that was a little bit. If it wasn't about team, if the whole team wasn't going to be able to do it or was not going to partake in it, then I think that it was wrong. So those are some of the thoughts that I have as far as unifying and galvanizing and building and trying to heal from some of the things that's been going on.
So, Ernest, then, is the message that you believe was being broadcast by players and coaches and team owners linking arms or taking a knee or even deciding to stay in the locker room during the national anthem? Ernest, are you saying the message we saw yesterday was different from what we saw last season?
Absolutely. It was a totally different message. I think it hit a broader, when President Trump made those statements, it hit a broader group of people. And to me, that kneeling, standing, national anthem, the real issues to me is discrimination and also equality. Those are the issues that we need to be focusing on and trying to heal from as far as our nation is concerned.
Sarah, both you and your husband Mike have said, I know on multiple occasions, that Mike fought for these rights of people to protest, to free speech. You posted that yesterday was a rough day. Why was it rough in your house?
You know, we're hearing a lot of people kind of using this tactic to divert from some of the issues at hand, saying this is not about our military. There are a lot of important issues at play, and the flag means so many things to so many different people. The flag is a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of our country. My husband stood shoulder to shoulder with some of the bravest men in this country, and they deployed to Afghanistan, and 37 of those men never came home. So what the flag represents to him, I've watched him stand and salute a flag-draped coffin that contained a man that he loved. So for us, the flag is the most sacred cloth that we have in this country, and to see that some don't honor it for whatever reason, although that is their right, it's still deeply disappointing.
Matt, how is this playing out when it comes to the discussion of race? Because the president has said since Friday this isn't about race. We know, of course, though, the way it started, Colin Kaepernick said this is absolutely about race. How's this playing out in Chicago, Matt?
Well, it is playing out about race. I think Michael did a good job of giving us the chronology of this protest, right? Colin Kaepernick by himself protesting unarmed African Americans being shot and killed by police. That grew into more players supporting him on that. But then the protest kind of changed a little bit at the beginning of this football year. And during the summer, players were protesting the fact that Kaepernick was being blackballed and not playing, not invited to play on one of the teams. I think what happened Friday was the President of the United States got into it, and for all the tactics that he used to get elected by dividing the country, he did it again on Friday, and it looks like it's about race. This is the same president who villainized members of Black Lives Matter, and now again going after these groups, this group of football players that are protesting. It seems like this is falling out on the line of race. The president is putting it out there in his positions, and he's making Americans choose what side they're on.
I know that LeBron James was also speaking out on this. It's not just football players, obviously, who have weighed in over the weekend. And he just spoke out on camera a short time ago. I want to take a quick listen to that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if something trickled down to the NBA if no change happened between now and the 17th. I salute Colin Kaepernick for being as powerful as he was and being the one that he had to fall on the sword, unfortunately. And I hate that. And I hope that some NFL owner, I wish I owned an NFL team right now, I'll sign him today.
Mike, there has been a trickle down already. LeBron James is saying he expects to see more. We talked a little bit about how the football part is playing out. Has there been as strong a reaction to some of the comments involving Steph Curry or LeBron James over the weekend, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that's all a part of it as well, that Steph Curry is not going to go to the White House, and then he's disinvited by the president. LeBron James talked a little bit about that. But what's interesting, Erica, and LeBron James touched on it, is what's going to happen moving forward. He mentioned Colin Kaepernick, and I've got to go back to a little bit of history here again with Colin Kaepernick. Over a year ago, here's what he said, and these words are very prophetic. He says, I'm not looking for approval when he made the initial protest. I have to stand up for people that are oppressed. If they take football away from me, take away my endorsements, I know that I stood up for what is right. Agree or not with what Colin Kaepernick has done, he knew then that his career could be in jeopardy. He's out of a job today, even though many football experts say he's better than some starters and certainly better than most backups, yet he sits. But sounds like, you know, he knew that this might happen. One other thing about Colin Kaepernick, again, agree or disagree, he has put his money where his mouth is. He said he's going to donate $1 million to organizations working in oppressed communities. To date, Erica, that we know of, he's donated $800,000, so making good on that promise. And that's what I think people are looking for. Who else is going to join him beyond taking a knee or raising a fist? Who else is going to do something like Colin Kaepernick has done?
And I don't remember where I heard this again, but I did hear at some point with the football on the background as I was cooking yesterday, someone saying, why not, Mr. President, extend an invitation to those people that you disagree with? And it would be great to see perhaps a conversation happen between players and the president, or coaches, or team owners. So let's see if perhaps this can bring this country together in a much-needed conversation. Mike, Matt, Ernest, Sarah, appreciate all of you joining us. Thank you. And we want to know what you think about this story, about what is happening right now in this country. Kneeling during the national anthem. Is it about race? Is it about country? Share your thoughts with us at 877-TEL-HLN. We're going to share some of those calls coming up in just a short bit. We've been asking you to weigh in on the controversy swirling around the NFL, the playing of the national anthem, whether or not it's okay to take a knee. What's your thought? Mike Galanos joining us now with some of those calls. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Erica. Yeah, one of the questions we're asking, is this about race or country? 1-877-TEL-HLN is the number. William's with us in Alabama. William, your thoughts?
Well, Donald Trump, he wrapping himself in the flag. When he had a chance to fight during the time of Vietnam conflict, he refused to fight. He refused to fight for the flag. He refused to fight for the country. Now he want to just wrap himself up in the flag. Donald Trump is a professional corn man. He corn, especially the people in the South. He is definitely corn them.
Gotcha. So anti the president. And for the record, Donald Trump was diagnosed with bone spurs in his heels. This was 1968, so that was a 1Y medical deferment. I believe he had 4 or 5 more deferments because of education. That's concerning his military service. But William made his point. Let's get another caller in. Colleen is with us in New York. Colleen, your thoughts on this?
Yes, hi.
Hey.
Thanks for calling me back. Yes, as a woman of color, I had my grandfather and his sons, they all served the military. They were all in the Navy. And my only brother was in the Marines. The reason that I think that a lot of people are having such a hard time with this, because there's a misconception about when a person of color disagrees or doesn't agree because of the way that they've been treated. As an American citizen, I want to be treated like everyone else. I want to feel like there's liberty and justice for all. I don't feel like there's liberty and justice. And when you pledge allegiance to the flag, those are the words. I pledge allegiance to the flag for liberty and justice for all. And as a black woman, born in 1958, old enough but young enough not to remember, but I do remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I do remember my parents being upset. I do remember my mom who's very fair-skinned, who's mixed with all colors, races, ethnicity background, and having to ride at the back of the bus. I remember that.
Right.
I remember bits and pieces of the civil rights movement. I as a child, when I would walk down the street as a little black girl walking down the street. I remember white kids calling me the N-word. I remember being treated not like an American, not like there's liberty and justice for all. And that goes for the criminal justice system.
Right.
You go into a courtroom and you see the words liberty and justice for all. It's not liberty and justice for all.
Got it.
So when the NFL represent, they're representing from the heart. It's not that they don't care about the people who serve this country. We're very spiritual people. And I love everybody. I'm a humanitarian. And I will help anybody. I don't care what race they are. But when I, as an American citizen, feel that strongly about not pledging allegiance to the flag, it goes way back to childhood.
Got it. Hey.
This is not something that we decided we wanted to do. We have to take a stance. Somebody of significance had to take a stand.
And in this
And
case,
I'm
it was
proud
Colin
of
Kaepernick.
him.
Hey, Colleen, thank you. I don't mean to cut you off. We're going to get a few more callers in, but to you, it is a valid protest, and work still needs to be done. So, Erica, back to you. We'll get some more callers in. Again, the number 1-877-TEL-HLN.
And I think in what we just heard from Colleen, too, it brings up a really important point. And I hope that Earnest Byner, former NFL player and coach, is still with us, because, Ernest, I think you can speak to this uniquely. So Colleen is laying out there. She is, several members of her family have served this country with honor. They have done their part to fight for those freedoms. She is talking about how she is a woman of color and what she remembers growing up. We should point out, let's not forget, Colin Kaepernick is not the first person to stand up and say, you know what? It's not equal for everybody right now. A number of athletes have done this over the years. Why is this one different, Ernest?
Well, it's really pointing to the fact that it's been a lot of things that have been happening in the National Football League in America. I too was very much like her. I protested. I went to the marches. I listened to Ralph Abernathy. I had to go into a door that was labeled as colored. So I feel the pain that she's mentioning, and I know the wrath that has happened. I've had rocks thrown at me, riding down, just out of nowhere. Somebody yelling the N-word out of nowhere. Having riots in our school based on black and white. I mean, I've lived that as well. The reason this particular incident is different. It's still about the same issues. The ground root, the base thing that's driving this issue is racism and was the inequality and injustice. Those are the two things that it's based on. And in reality, it's still there. It's still something that we need to deal with. What are we going to do as far as, how are we going to use this energy that we're showing on screen now? How are we going to use what has happened? Are we just going to go back to regular old every day? Is it just going to go back to the basic things that have been happening? Or are we going to continue to make something positive happen out of something that has been somewhat in a lot of people's life very devastating to them?
It is so important, and it is such an important question, too, that you bring up, which is, what do we do with this moment that is happening right now in this country? Mike has another caller for us.
Yeah, a couple of callers. And what's interesting just about with our caller Colleen and what Earnest Byner just had to say, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's been an activist himself, he had a quote just that kind of fits here, Erica, is talking about we shouldn't be horrified as Americans about Colin Kaepernick. I'm somewhat paraphrasing, but 50 years after Muhammad Ali and Tommy Smith and John Carlos, basically what should horrify us is we still need to call attention to the same racial inequalities. Failure to fix this problem is what is un-American. So that, again, from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's been really an activist since his playing days. You go back to even his time at UCLA and beyond. Then you have that. Then you have fans who weigh in and want to see football and basically saying, and then this was a post on social media just to get the other side in. I've got to say I disagree with NFL owners, league, players, coaches. You have the right, but that doesn't make it right. Find another way to make your point. you know, too many people have given a lot or everything. So again, it gets into that first responders and the military side of things as well. Let's get a caller in. Coy's with us in Ohio. Coy, your thoughts on this?
Hey, how you doing today?
Great,
Thanks
Coy.
for having me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, when I turn on a football game, I want to see football. You know, I understand all these people, they have their thoughts and their realities, and I believe in what they believe in because they do if they're right. But when you watch a football game, it's about entertainment. It's not about protesting something. And first and foremost, in this country, you know, from the time I've been born and raised, is that you stand at attention, you put your heart over your hand when the national anthem is sang. And just to put that in a little bit of perspective, look at North Korea and how together that entire nation is. They won't let you see, you know, anything like we show. We're all against each other and we're all divisive. You know, football should be something that brings us all together as a nation and as a people. And it's like, hey, we're here to have fun. Forget about all your problems, and we'll deal with that somewhere else in the town hall or in a meeting in someone's home or whatever.
All right. Hey, Coy, and that sentiment is out there, Erica, that people just want football. But again, this is not going away. There's another game tonight. Arizona is hosting the Dallas Cowboys, and there's already talk among owners like Jerry Jones. How are they going to show solidarity? So we're going to see it again tonight for Monday Night Football.
And this is, of course, all talking about football. We've heard some other athletes weigh in, LeBron James, Steph Curry. But it's interesting, one of the other points that has come up is the fact that you don't hear the national anthem at every single event in this country. So, you know, you're not going to a show on Broadway and hearing the national anthem. You're not going to a local symphony, maybe, you know, out on the prairie, as I know my in-laws go to out in Indianapolis all the time. And does all of that start with the national anthem, which brings up the question, too, of should it be there, should it not be there? Sarah, is this something that's ever discussed in your house about whether or not it should be there for everything or just for certain sporting events?
I think if Mike had his way, you know, we'd have the national anthem play in our house probably every morning, Erica. He loves it so much. It's a symbol of hope and freedom. But right now it's a tradition, and so it's one that at this point should continue with focusing on what the flag means and what it represents for so many people, which is still that we are lucky to live in the greatest country in the land, and that these people have the freedom to protest as they see fit, to take a knee if they want to, and that's part of the conversation that I hope is recognized, that they really do have the freedom that they might not have in other countries to express themselves.
We're going to continue this discussion on the other side of the break again. If you have thoughts to share, the number 187-TELL-HLN.